Welcome everybody. So here's a painting that I started, and I gotta say, I'm trying to decide whether I should try to save it, keep going and try to save it, or whether it's just a failed project. Usually I like to believe that almost everything can kind of be saved from total failure, but at the same time, I'm wondering if I should just start a new one. You know, I don't think I'd be successful as an artist back in, the early days, or back in prior to like the 1800s. I don't think I would be a successful artist because like, you had to be really precious with your materials back in the day because it was so hard to get. But today, like, paint, it's just like, it just flows like water. I mean, yes, paint is expensive, but it just flows like water off my brush. And I experiment a lot with it. And sometimes it just, sometimes I play around too much and I get these like crazy paintings that kind of make no sense. And now I'm trying to decide, should I continue working on this, or should I allow it to just kind of be and do a paint over someday? I'm not exactly sure. Taking a look. It's interesting to see what it looks like on camera and off. But anyway, you know what I could also do? I have this idea for a painting I'd like to do. And we're gonna actually just paint something else. I'm gonna do a paint over of a previous project that I have. So let's put this over to the side. And we're gonna go with this one. So here's a painting that I did a while back. It actually had someone that really liked it, but they didn't end up buying it. But I'm going to paint over it. I think this is a painting that I can happily paint over. I don't know exactly what I had in mind. It's an abstract idea. But my previous painting definitely needs work. I have a lot of paintings that need work. But we're going to go with this one for a paint over. And I have this idea in mind that I want to do. So let me go with, excuse me. I'm going to go with some black here. I'm going to start with some white. I'm going to start with a bunch of white. We start with a bunch of titanium white. Psst, hey, go away, kitty. Kitty, no. No, go. Go. Shoot. Nope. So we're gonna lay down some titanium white, and we're gonna play with some techniques here. And then we're gonna throw down some gray, some freshly opened gray. So I already painted this. This is a really fun piece, but I'm gonna paint over it. So I'm gonna throw down some gray here. Some Payne's gray, which is like a really dark, mid dark gray. And then let's lay down some black. Where's my black? There we go. Here's some black. We're going to lay down black where I laid it down last. Go, black, go. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start off with a bunch of white. So I'm going to lay down some white in like a square format here. Jeremy McNeil, what's going on? You know, Jeremy, I told myself I was going to stop doing shout-outs like without knowing the person, because I've been having these issues where people come in with these horrible names that if you say like the full name, you just say something really bad. But right now I'm painting over this. So right now I'm going with a technique. So this is a technique that I actually picked up by listening to Vincent Van Gogh. And what it is basically, there's two ways of doing this, right? If you want the really thick textured paints, it can be hard sometimes to just go down individually and get the brush. But what you can do is you can lay down a huge chunk of paint and basically carve out what you're looking for. So I'm going to experiment with that technique. And we're going to just carve this out here into a square. This probably isn't a good technique to use with oil paints, because oil paint is so much more expensive than so oil paint's a lot thicker, is a lot more expensive than acrylic. So doing a technique like this might not be the best use of your money, especially if you're, if paint supplies are super precious to you, if like, all your paychecks go to paints, and this technique probably wouldn't really be the best choice of a use of oil paint. But you know what, if you don't, nothing ventured, nothing lost, but nothing gained. And with that said, you can't always just, when you do art, I guess you can't always just think about what's what is only going to make a financial return. Sometimes you really just gotta go for the exploration here. That cube is still too small. I'm gonna go for a bigger cube here. How am I doing, Jeremy? I'm doing all right. I have definitely had better days, but I am doing okay, and I am getting better. That is a canned response for saying. That is a canned response that people say when things are just going okay, but they're still optimistic. What's up, Mark? How you doing, sir? So here we go, as I aim to carve out this piece here. We're gonna make a very big layer of white right here. And then now, let's take our gray. We're going to mix this white with our gray here. feel like a chef when I mix things like this. And we're gonna go right into here. I think the center should be right here. So we're gonna mix our gray like so. Oh no. There we go. Okay. You know what? I really should have mixed this on the canvas before I started doing this. But I really want to play around. Oh wait, this needs another section here. I'm going to go like so. And hanging at home for a bit. Awesome. How's work, dude? I think last we spoke, you said you were just taking a break from work, which I do feel very honored that on your break time you do choose to come check out these streams, these live streams. So here we go. Gonna make sure that I lay down this paint nice and thick. It's a nice thick Payne's gray. Because what we're about to do is something I really haven't tried before. I'm going for like very thick layered texture, a very thick layered texture painting. And what I need to do with this color right here is it's black, so we're gonna do a better job this time mixing it on the canvas, or mixing it on the actual palette, getting this color mixed on the palette, and then sending it off onto our canvas. Alright, still didn't quite nail the mixing of the colors, but I need the right size palette knife, and that's just not what I have. So here we go. Very strong smelling paint, by the way. I haven't smelled paint this strong in a while. I don't know what's causing it or whatever, but this paint smells very strong. And I need another palette knife. So I seem to have lost my smaller palette knives. Yeah, my smaller palette knives have somehow disappeared, so I need to do some collecting of this. But honestly, this should have been enough black paint. A house is not a house. So I'm calling this painting Cube. This painting is going to be named The Cube. All right, let's get the paint off of this baby. Get the paint off. I need a bit more white to finish this, but I also need to clean off this brush because otherwise, I shouldn't have left the black up there, but that's okay. Let's clean off this brush. And right now we're just playing with paint, people. This is fun. This is exciting. I'm not painting some sort of, extensive, detailed piece. I am just experimenting with color. I'm just pushing the boundaries of I'm experimenting with paint. I'm exploring the boundaries that are available. The boundaries of painting. Not really to the fullest, right? But just to the very edges. You know what? I'm just going to lay this paint down here on this side. I don't want to mess up this middle area. The white's looking so good. The white area is just looking so good. I don't want to mess it up right now. And now what I got to do is we're going to paint into it, and we're just going to just make marks into it. So that's what our goal is, to make marks. So I'm trying to find the best brush to do that. Here we go. This is a good brush. For whatever reason, the paint smells so strong right now. I don't know which tube of paint it was. It smells like pungent. Alright, so we're going to start with this white, and we're just going to look to create marks in the white. So let's see, we're going to do these brush strokes, and this is our goal, to just create this brush effect throughout the white here. And I think ideally, when this is all said and done, it'll look like basically look like it was brushed on with individual strokes. So this is the technique that I'm playing with right now. And there we go. It's actually working. I'm actually surprised. Let's see. Until Tokyo Days. Cool name. Looks like how you see your house after coming from a long day doing boxing stuff. In yesterday's stream, you did showing painting with many head and I believe 2 horse faces. Pretty good. So, funny story. I had that painting yesterday. And the reason why I'm even doing this painting right now is because I started that painting and I'm like, it's turning out horrible. Horrible in a good way, right? I love all my paintings, but it's I'm still figuring things out with this technique right now. Still exploring some of the things, and I don't want to say horrible. Horrible is such a bad term because I think from every art experience, every painting, you learn something, but it's just not turning out in a way that's like really as pleasing to me. I mean, it looks okay. It's kind of like, different, abstract in a way, but it's not quite hitting the mark. There's some abstract that looks like really cool and interesting, But there's other abstract that's like just doesn't quite hit the mark. Like I think there's bad art. I definitely believe that there's bad art that's like, you know, it's kind of good. It's like so bad it's good. I think I could possibly hit that mark. But if I tried, but I don't think it's quite there. But anyway, you said you're doing too much balloon gas. Hilarious. Yeah. So there we go. It looks like what happens if you do balloon gas. I've never inhaled too much balloon gas, so I wouldn't know. But I'm glad that somehow you can share the experience with us and explain what that is like. I do not condone the use of balloon gas. It's kind of cool. I like what's going on here with the gray. And right now, let's go ahead and bring this gray down into here. I've got so much paint on this brush that I'm going to take some off. Take some of the edge off. And here we go. So now that we've got this section, I think we clean off this brush here and we can actually move into the rest of this. So cleaning off the brush, getting a lot of the gray off. I want it to be nice and clean for this white section. I'm having a hard time getting over how strong this paint smells. I don't know which tube of paint it was, but this paint smells very, very strong. So we're gonna go across here. And basically, I'm just gonna paint across and just aim to keep creating these brush-like effects. And I think this is how a lot of the impressionists or impasto painters like Vincent did it sometimes. Vincent van Gogh. I think this is partially how he did it, was putting a ton of paint on the canvas first and then molding it and designing it as he saw fit. And this gives you the effect that, you know, you don't have to go down brush by brush. You have more control over your color on the canvas. And you create this texture, this design that, you know, it's one of those things where you don't really notice it from a distance, but when you're up close to it, it kind of like has a positive effect. So I'm just doing this with some basic shapes right now: triangle, rectangles, and just exploring possibilities. It's kind of cool because I guess you could start to see the different textures that are available here. And we're going to lay down some of this white on this side here. I'm going to call this the yard. The cube in the yard. All right. So, hey, by the way, until Tokyo, what's going on? You know, I get so caught up sometimes. I forget that there's people actually watching, and that it's great to have a conversation with y'all. So what's if you like, obviously this is live. This can eventually at some point in the future be broadcast to the entire world. I keep these live streams. What's a message that, imagine this was a billboard to the entire planet, what's a message that you would like to actually say to the world? So here we go. We're gonna go with this black now. And this black, let's bring in this gray a little bit further right there. Bring in the gray right there. And we're gonna start with our black down here. Let's go boom, 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 boom. And fortunately, I laid down enough black paint that that it is allowing me to do the effect that I'm looking for. But it's really hard to do this if you just go straight into brushing. It's really hard because you have to get just enough paint every single time to make it look nice and thick and juicy. Nice thick juicy paint blobs. But if you don't do it right, you know, you just end up with this kind of like a timid looking section of paint. So I want to take that paint, I want to make use of this paint. Call this the yard. Let's see, how's this looking on camera? Yeah, it's kind of different, right? You can see the textures, you can see the designs. And then let's aim to separate the light and the dark on each side. I don't know. See, I'm having a hard time deciding on this painting because I'm like, I know I'm going to use a ton of paint to fill up this page. And I don't know if it's worth it because this oil paint's so expensive. But I also love the idea of just being free enough from worrying too much about that and, you know, doing something for the sake of painting, for the sake of exploring an idea. Exploring a concept or a vision. Because I have done paintings like this before. Let me see, let me pull this piece out. This is one of my paintings in this style. Just a candle. And I really think I was able to get these effects down. But even this one, you could tell I was a bit timid with the paint, except for the top here. That was fun. But that's what I was going for. You know what? This painting will probably never sell, but who knows? And then here's another recent piece. where I played with that idea. And you know, one thing about going into these into this style is that when I finally do a less like playing painting, you know, painting that just uses thick paint just for the sake of playing, when I do finally do a fresh painting, you know, I feel like I've gotten all the fun, all the silliness out of me, and I can like focus on a different idea, a different concept. Like this is totally a fun way to paint. Just these really thick brush strokes, laying down paint and kind of like carving it out right on the canvas as you're going. It's a really fun way to paint. It's a really interesting way to explore. But at the same time, it's also not a cheap use of paint, sadly. But what should I do? I don't use that much black anyway. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna lay down black. We're gonna put some black directly onto this canvas. Which means I'm actually gonna drop this down a little bit. Actually, a little bit up. And let's rotate this a little bit so that the paint is a little easier to work with. And I'm going to lay some black down directly onto this canvas here. And we are just going to carve it. Carve it. Kitten, get out of there. Go. Go. Move. Go. Come here, go play with something else. Where's your other toy? Here, look. Go play with this thing. Here, go play with this. Come here. Fern, there you go. Go, kitty. There you go. Play with this. Yes, good. Good. So I have these kittens. I try to keep them away from. Teach them how to hunt, Fern. Here. Teach them how to hunt. So anyway, gotta head out again, Emmett. Have a great evening. Thanks, Mark. You too. So here we go. We're gonna lay down some nice thick chunks of black paint here. And then we're going to lay down a nice thick chunk of white paint. I feel like this is maybe like I don't know if y'all ever heard of an artist named Paul Kenton. But this is probably like, this is like amateur level -1 Paul Kenton. Just using thick layers of paint straight onto the canvas and molding it there. I have so many tubes of white paint. So we're going to lay our white straight down onto the canvas here. And at some point these colors will hopefully merge. Let's use one brush for white, one brush for oh, this paint is so thick. It is so thick. Just imagine this paint is made from titanium. So that's the material that's used in this paint. It's titanium. So it's really thick. You can imagine it's literally like a metal that's being used in here. There's definitely an idea worth exploring with this style. Well, let me maybe dip a little bit. You know what? We're gonna go like this. I think this is how I've seen it stay. I'm gonna clean this brush off with this palette knife. We're gonna go into the black with it. Let's go into the black. The black is much less thick. I think Utrecht makes a very thick white, whereas Winsor Newton, maybe it's the Utrecht white has much more much less oil in it. It's packed with less oil per tube, which I think is great because you get a denser paint. You get more bang for your buck. I love the way paint looks when you've kind of like smeared on with a palette knife. I don't necessarily have a direction I'm going with this. Let's carve this right up into it. Right up into the white. We're gonna carve this black in. And I don't know how this happened, but somehow the amount of black that I put on this piece was able to pretty much cover all the space that I needed, but the white didn't quite make it for whatever reason. Let's go down here. And there we have the black. So let's get all the paint off our palette knife. Get all the paint off the palette knife here. Oh, that is so much paint. So much black paint. By the way, it's actually hard to find a good use for black paint because it's such a dense color or saturated color usually. That's really, it becomes really hard to work with. I even have a series called From Black where I start with the color black just to see where it goes. And instead of using this brush, I'm going to go with a bigger brush. Clean off this brush a little bit first. And how we're gonna play with this brush, let's see, how we're gonna play with our next idea. Let's use, here's an idea. We're gonna use our blender brush, but instead of actually blending, we're gonna create like a design here. And what's really cool about black paint is it is such a reflective color. Like when you have light shining on it, it reflects color so well, so interesting. Such a variety of color that you might not expect. Or I guess, you know, it reflects all of the lights. Like as you can see, this black in itself is creating a sort of texture here, a design. I have so much black left. What shall I do? I don't want to make the black engulf our white. I still have so much paint. What do you do with this much leftover paint? What should you do with it? I didn't mean to scrape it off. No, maybe we'll just go into this area. Why are you chewing my cardboard? Stop. Stop, kitty. Stop chewing cardboard. All right, so I like where this is going. And now what I got to do is I got to do the same thing with our white here. But I need like a white that's less dense. This white is just a super dense white, and I think it's a little too much. A little too white. Too dense of a white. And where are all my white paints? I swear I bought like sadly, all my white paints are like really expensive. I don't have like cheap white paint. Comparatively. So let's try to find, like I think the black paint was really affordable paint. Kitty! Psst, psst, psst. Hey, go. Go somewhere else. Watch out. Come here. Move. Move. Don't go there. Alright. Kitten's getting into trouble. What's new? What else is new, right? And I think once I start doing my scrapey thing, once I start doing a scrapey thing, a lot of this white paint is going to start to manifest into the space properly. Go. Somewhere else. Go. Go. Come here. Look. 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 Right here. Go play with the toy. Here, look. Go play with that toy. Ciao. Little kittens. What are they doing? All right. So aiming to create, just really fill the space here before I start the our textured effect here. Before I start the texturing idea. So this is just a playful painting. It's not like a serious study or anything. Sometimes you got to paint just to try new things, just to explore the possibilities of what can be accomplished with paint. Okay, so we have all that paint. It's probably a lot of excess paint. This is what people make when there's excess. But let's go with this. So I'm going to take this brush, and it has so much black paint on it that I need to clean it off. Clean this brush off. Thin it out with some thinners. Use my little brush cleaner rubber. So this brush cleaner has like a little spring coil in it that I can use to kind of like scrape off some of the paint. There's so much paint on this brush. It's about time I found a use for my fan brushes, my fan brushes here. All right, so here we go. We go wham, bam, 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 bam. Just creating like a textured white. We'll see what happens with this. And here we go. Using this brush to create a texture across this. And then right now, I think that we've reached a point where we can kind of merge the two colors. And we're going to merge our white and our black. And maybe we could create some sort of shape. Let's create some sort of shape here. It's kind of interesting. All right. You know what? Looking at this on camera, I feel like it's turned out better than I expected. It's kind of like eerie, right? Like eerie. There's this feeling of like a discomfort. There is definitely an uncomfortableness to this. Maybe that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use this white and just these two colors and just kind of keep blending around, creating this like hypnotic effect here. Yeah, that's kind of a cool effect. I can only imagine like if I use different colors here. All right, I like that. I like this. I like where this is, and I think I'm done. I don't think I need to do too much more with this painting. I've accomplished what I set out to achieve. Maybe a little bit more up here. And what if just laid a ton of color right down in the center. Just lay it all down right there. All right, that was fun. You know, one thing that is totally inspiring about Vincent van Gogh is that although the myth of Vincent being totally like a broke artist, that's a myth because he had a lot of support from his brother. And, you know, he had enough money for like prostitutes and alcohol and all sorts of luxuries of life that if he was truly a poor artist, he wouldn't have been able to afford. So he had a lot of support. But one thing that is admirable is that no matter what, when he was painting, he did not limit his painting based on his access to supplies. Like whatever supplies he had, he would use up, and he would not, like, you could tell by his paintings that he wasn't shy about using his supplies. He didn't treat it as if it was like the most precious, well, maybe he did treat it as like it was one of the most precious things, but he didn't treat it as if he would never, I mean, how should I say this? Like he would use up the paint. Whereas I feel like if some artists, if they felt like they didn't know if they were going to have more paint supplies in the near future, that they would kind of like be very conservative with their paint. But something that I can admire from Vincent van Gogh, based on what I learned from his story, is that you know, even though supplies were somewhat precious to him in a sense that they were limited, somewhat limited and harder to get, he was never shy or conservative about putting paint onto the canvas. You can see that in his work. And I think that that's something that a lot of artists could do, including myself sometimes. You know, if I'm kind of like timid with paint, or there's times when I feel like, you know, I should be more conservative with how much paint I use. You know, that can influence your work. But you know, he was freed from that self limitation. Obviously he had support, but at the end of the day, you know, that is a luxury. You know, my goodness, this still, my goodness. So luckily I came to check out my paint again today, because this has so much paint on it. I don't know how, I mean, obviously it got there because I put it there, but it's like sometimes I forget to clean off my brushes even though I need to. So our kittens have just discovered a little toy bin. They're having a blast. So I'm going to take this color and grab some red and input my name. Alright, so my name is somewhere in there. It is hidden. What if we leave like a nice little red line in the center? Some little signs of like red. I gotta admit, this painting is quite discomforting. There's like a sense of, there's some sense of like foreboding with these color combinations, I feel. I like it. There's a sense of unease, and I have no idea how I captured that effect. I just kind of did. Or it's not that I don't know how I captured it, but if you ask me to repeat and come up with a painting that captures this effect again, like I wouldn't know exactly what the science is that does it. So a little bit of red right there, little initials on some signage on the bottom. And now this is an original work, people. An original work. Just enough red to create some extra ideas, some extra feeling into this painting. Okay, you know what? That is we're gonna call this a done painting for the day. The problem with paintings like this, though, is that they usually take a long time to dry. So I have to leave this somewhere safe for at least a day or two, where it won't get touched, where it's not gonna be affected by some other painting. So I'm going to close up my materials. And you know what? I might come back in a couple hours and do some more painting. But for now, we're going to call this a finished project for now. These kittens are having such a blast. Let me introduce you to the kittens that we're fostering here in a moment. Fostering some kittens. Actually, let me put this painting somewhere it's not going to get. So who wants to see some kitties? Let's see some kitties. Look at these. Look at these guys. Look at these guys. What's going on? These little brother-sister duo. You can tell which one's super chill. The other one's a little cray-cray. Just gotta love kittens. Mwah. 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 All right. With that said, take care, everybody. We're done for the day. And we might be back a little later, but I'm done for now. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.